It's time for the return of the Mac. Listen up. The internet is drowning. I mean, like mad drowning in fake content. And I don't know about you, but it's getting on my nerves. If it's getting on your nerves, let me know in the comment section below. But actually, yes, the internet is drowning in fake content. Yes, the internet is drowning in AI slop. But that is absolutely great news for you. I hear people every day complaining about it. And I'm like, fam, when people start complaining a lot, I start looking for opportunity. Right now, the platforms are literally begging you, hands and knees, please, mama, please, go live. People are looking for real humans to show up. No fancy editing, no perfect lighting, just you. And I'm going to show you exactly why 2026 is your moment. If you've been sleeping, if you've been sitting on this, my friends, is your time to shine. Shine bright like a diamond. Listen, there's something happening right now. People are watching strangers clean vegetables. People are watching people farming, harvesting crops, baking bread, organize their sewing supplies, bullet journeying. Yo, I caught myself watching people filling fountain pens the other day, and then I realized I needed to fill mine. So, actually, I spent all day yesterday washing my fountain pens. Anyway, because the internet is so full of garbage, I mean like hot trash, the internet folks, people, viewers, audience are desperate for everything that feels real. Like the way I completely screwed up that sentence, but I knew what I was trying to say, and I just had to wait for the A to D and the H to D to catch up and let me in. I saw the funniest thing today. It said AD, lightning bolt, HD, highway to squirrel. Got me. Anyway, while AI slop is everywhere, deepfakes, compilations with that stupid robot voice. Hey, you know why this guy is such a genius? That overproduced vlogs that seem like mini movies, and all these kids talking about, well, you need just cinematics, and Sony just dropped this camera. It needs to be open gate with the filmatic look and the whole nine. Yo, people who are just putting out normal kinfolk contents are blowing the F up. And the platforms like YouTube and TikTok have already, if you've been on there lately, yo, it's been asking you to go live. If I'm lying, I'm frying. Go check it. Go check it right now and tell me you ain't seen a thing. Hey, we're doing a live, not a contest. What do they call it on TikTok? They got a word for it, but they're doing a little campaign to get you to go live as much as possible. YouTube is sending out all the info, get you to go live. The platforms want real folks, right? The platforms know that people are sick and tired of the fake videos because there's a bunch of us making videos complaining about it. Now, YouTube and TikTok are making strides to make it go away with the labeling, and you got to be specific and things like that. It's just taking a while. It's going to take a while for this stuff to work. So if you've been sitting on the sideline, put me in the game, coach, put me in the games, thinking about it, you ain't ready, watching another video, waiting until you bought this thing, waiting until January before you do what Mary Lou told you to do. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. This whole idea of I'm not talented enough. Well, you need to hear this. You need to hear this. This is exactly what makes you valuable right now. You are the MVP, most valuable player, MVC, most valuable creator right now, because the internet is looking for true, real deal, Holyfield kinfolks. Now, here is the absolute core framework. Here's what you need to know. You have right now what I would like to call, except for I hate the word authenticity, so it's going to take me a minute to come up with a better phrase, but you have what I call the authenticity advantage. It's like back in the day, you buy like a baseball card and it would come with a certificate of authenticity if it's been properly graded. You got one of those. I'm going to put you in a glass case, right? This is the first time that this happened? No, this has happened before. I'm going to take you on a tiny little history trip. I'm going to beg you to stay with me. Please don't run away. This part is important because context is important. And many of you have lived through this exact time frame, so you know what I'm talking about. The very beginning, only people that lived through that was Gretchen and Paul. But everybody else, stick with me. Back in the 1940s, there was a hidden camera show called Candid Camera. Many of us remember it from the 70s and 80s, but it started in the 1940s. And people love watching the real acts and the real reactions of people. It was a voyeuristic look into like normal human folks, right? There was another joint that came out in that middle called The American Family. It's before me. Paul, let me know if I got it right. But anyway, that got migrated into our time, where in the early 2000s, we got reality TV. We're talking Real World, Survivor, Big Brother. There's some more, but there was reality TV thing. And that was dope. People were hooked. I hate reality TV, but people was hooked. And then what happened is around the mid-2000s, reality TV got a little bit fake. Producers started manipulating situations, creating Frankenbites where they take the audio and the video from two separate times, put them out of context, put them out of chronological order, and they just made it so you could get mad. So that the people look like they were mad. The people look like they were in conflict, or these two people look like they wasn't really smashing, right? It was just a whole bunch of BS, right? And all of this controversy was just going and going, and people got addicted to the drama. And then here's where it blew up. When Storage Wars got busted for faking the scenes and faking the outcomes, people got mad. And what they started hearing about this new thing. Your TVs were starting to come with that YouTube button. People started looking at YouTube, and then the Casey Neistats and the people of that era, the Chamberlain, they all popped up. And people was like, I can get reality TV on YouTube. These people are real. They're doing their thing. And then everybody wanted to be Casey Neistat, not understanding he's a professional filmmaker long before YouTube ever existed. And they started trying to make overproduced vlogs, overproduced live streams, overproduced podcasts. And yeah, the drama now ensues. The pranks were being set up, and we got reality TV repeated on YouTube, and everybody kind of went away from that. And then, YouTube started getting into other type of content. Well, now, thanks to AI, thanks to every camera being good, every camera can look cinematic. All of those old school advantages are sort of gone. Your phone right now, your Android, your Android or your iPhone right now can look just as cinematic as many of these more expensive cameras out here today. So, what does that mean for you? Doesn't really matter what camera you have. Whether it's something like this little wee YOLO Box X3 or a Tiny 2 or Insta360 Go, my DJI is in my pocket. I have my Nano in my pocket. I carry it with me 24/7. Where the hang is? Here it is, right here in this little wee case. You can just shoot with whatever. And then nowadays, your AirPods can act as a mic. You can shoot with that. You got a Shure? Cool, connect it. No matter what. You can buy a Hollyland mic around $40 that would sound good enough for what you need to do. So now, all you got to do is be real. Here is a simple blueprint. All you have to do is be real. Pop in your camera, talk about what you talk about, show up like I'm doing right now. Straight from the heart, kind of crazy, kind of all over the place, kind of unscripted, not trying to be a guru, just trying to tell you that I ain't perfect. You don't need to be perfect. I get people watching videos every day. I'm not perfect. People tell me, dude, you messed up. I'm like, yeah, I'm always messed up. My mama dropped me on my head. It's a thing. All you need is just be a couple steps ahead of them. So right now, Paul, again, learning how to play his piano. I think the next video will be day 3, but you know what? He's 3 days in front of me. So if I order that piano right now and attempt to copy him, boom. Everybody who just are putting in their pre-orders for the brand new Sony A7 IV, guess what? Nobody's an expert on the A7 IV yet, except for the people that made it at Sony, because ain't nobody got one yet until they start shipping, I think, January. All of a sudden, there'll be a whole bunch of videos of people telling you how to focus with it, how to shoot with it, how whatever. But everybody right now is at ground zero, right? So no matter what your context is, whether it's picking fancy water bottles like this here Oddwaller right here, whether it's looking at cameras, whether it's taking pictures with your iPhone, learning how to quilt, learning how to sew, learning how to sell on eBay, no matter what, you can start anything right now. Whatever you're planning to set for your New Year's resolution, you can make a whole channel about that. I just started a brand new channel right now, and I'm ready to start filling that baby up. I have 0 subs on that channel. Nobody, not even my family, has subscribed to that channel yet. I have 0 subs. And I'm ready to go because I don't have to do my crazy editing like when I started this channel. I could just go there and just make random content, send it to the sky, call it a day. If you mess up a word, guess what? Everybody messes up a word. You can't figure it out when you have a problem live. Figure the problem out live. Take something apart live. This is your competitive advantage. Your lack of production skills right now is your competitive advantage because people want to see real deal, Holyfield content. And again, I'm going to say my famous good enough chart. Can they hear you? Yes. Can they see your face? Yes. I got whole arguments about Faceless Channel. If you want to see that video, let me know. I'll write about it. Are you being yourself? Kind of hope so. It's hard as hell to be somebody else. That's it. That is the bar. Full stop. Ship it. Now, I heard a myth the other day that was thrown at me, and I won't call it mad. I was sad for the person because I like this person. But they said to me, Doc, I can't do it the way you do it because you have a gift of gab. Look, let me explain it on you. I was a radio DJ for 30 years, 3 decades, 10 times 3, 30. I did sales for many, many years. I have a degree in marketing. I was in Toastmasters. I've done improv classes. Yeah, of course you can. I've been trained to speak like this. I was trained in the military to even speak. This is not a gift, though. This is repetition. This is practice. We talking about practice? Yeah. We talking about practice? Yes. I'm Allen Iverson. I have so much practice. Plus being ADHD and a Virgo. Yeah, I talk a lot. So just showing up and doing it badly until you do it less badly. At one point, I couldn't barely even talk to strangers. I used to hide behind my people's leg. Mom, daddy, grandma, auntie, whoever. I hide behind the leg and look at them like, who them folks is? And they're like, boy, you better show some respect and go speak. My family made me go speak to people. You walk in somebody's house, how you doing? Right? You walk in the church, how you doing, Miss Parker? How you doing, Miss Daniels? How you doing, Miss Smith? Wait, Sia Smith, she one of us? Nah, that ain't the right kind of cousin. All right. You know, like, I learned to speak because my grandma then made me speak. And the only way you can get better at speaking is actually speaking. You can get better. You're not going to wake up one day, magically took a pill, and then all of a sudden you can speak. A couple shots of tequila would help, but that's a different video. The only way to get better at talking is talking. There's no shortcut. Little kids start out, but by God, I go, and next thing you know, kids, shut up. I don't care about 8-ounce head dinosaurs. Like, you know what it is? By the time you 8, people be wanting to put you in a corner somewhere, tell you don't say a word. Now, if people are watching paint dry, literally, if people are watching people paint cars, wash cars, remodel houses, people sleeping on Twitch, people studying, people writing in their journals. Yo, we used to make fun of people watching other people play games. But here people are watching that. People are watching folks harvest vegetables, organize bobbins for the sewing machine. I think that's what it's called, the little round thing. Yo, whatever you do in your daily life, there's probably an audience. And something I learned from my buddy Benji, I've been spending a lot of time working with Benji Travis, who is honestly the GOAT at this. You could legit make a channel where you talk about writing better copy, right? So just in case Brian and Noel see this, they could make videos talking about their kick-ass software, Clarity Scribe, but they could do it while they're shopping at Costco Evilay. Like they could put this DJI, stick it to the thing, and be walking through Costco Evilay and be like, man, I got these clients and they want to get this content copywritten, and here are some of the things that I'm thinking about. And you could do that. You don't even have to be sitting at your desk like me writing copy. You can talk about writing copy while you're shopping at the freaking Costco. In Hawaii, Costco string beans are off the hook, just in case Brian and Nicole see this. I mean, Noelle see this. I always want to call Noelle Nicole. She's going to slap me for real. Anyway, whatever you do in your daily life, you could do that while you talk about what you talk about. So I'm going to hit you with the strategy because I promise I always leave you with something to do. Option 1, go live. Pick something you're already doing, cooking dinner, organizing your space, working on the project, go live. Set up your phone, hit the live button. Of course, I get paid more if you use Ecamm, so use Ecamm, but right now, just put your phone on and go live. Do it on TikTok and Instagram until you get used to it. That's a good place to practice if you're scared about jacking up your channel, because over there, doesn't matter, right? Answer the comments as they come in. Real-time interaction proves that you are a human, you are alive, and you are awake. Unless you're doing one of them sleeping twitches. And then you're going to take that unpolished video and you're going to put it up. If you're making a scripted content, you can actually save that as a video. You can cut out the good parts. We talked to somebody the other day and we're like, here's what you do. Go in, if you're going to do a 5-minute video, do it as a live video. Record the first 5 minutes there while you got your audience there. When you're done, step back and talk to the audience. And then you could even stop that recording and start editing it live. And then somebody could probably help you with your editing problems because there's people in the chat that don't know what they're doing, right? Now, if you do a recorded video, shoot it. Don't think about the pauses. If you pause, let the kinfolks know you think. You don't just be spitting crap out your brains. I do it all the time. I be sitting there, and then I say what? You know, it's not the Obama pause. It's I'm trying to catch my brains because I have ADHD, and I probably started thinking about a 69 Buick with some Craigar SS rims slightly jacked up in the back, a couple double headers and flames. If you caught that, you are old as dirt. Anyway, don't wait until you have better equipment. Don't wait until you know what to say. Don't wait until you feel ready, because I'm going to tell you what, you're never going to feel ready. I have made 400, and I really did stop counting. Let me get you the right number. I have made 408 videos in a row, not including shorts and live streams. I'm closer to 600, and I have never, so let me get ready to go make this video. I just make the video. I pressed the button. So here's your challenge. 90 seconds, I'm going to give you the challenge. You're going to say, here's what I want to do. Not tomorrow, not when I'm ready, this week. You're going to go live on whatever platform, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, I don't care, LinkedIn. Go live, pick one. Do something you was already fixing to do. Clean out your knife drawer, organize your colognes, clean your rims. Is the rims big? Yeah. Do they ride good? Wood. Like, whatever. Cut the grass. But just do it and then talk about what you like to talk about. Explain to people who you are. Introduce yourself. Explain your business. Explain how you make money. Explain the nonprofit you're working for. Explain your art. Right? If it means something, 3 people show up, you good. If 0 people show up, you good. You're just building the muscles. You will go to the gym and lift weights whether somebody is watching you or not. Think of this as content weightlifting. Now, I'm going to request this. Drop a comment below when you're done. Let me know how I can find it, or DM me somewhere where I can find it. I will come and comment on that mofo myself. I'll be in Japan. I might comment in Japanese, but I'm coming. Because here's the truth. There won't be many more warnings before the window closes. The opportunity is now. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. I think that's how I wear it. You know I don't type. Do not. Bam. OJs. Listen, OJs, not the white truck, but the group. Do not be a woulda, coulda, shoulda person. Looking back in 27, saying, I wonder what would have happened if. And if you got the OJs, woulda, coulda, shoulda, that's what folks always say, you are also old. I just reminding y'all, because some of my old people here, some of my young people here, young people, I appreciate you for sticking through, because I'm a little crazy. It might be a little much for y'all, because I don't use weird words like aesthetic, but hey, let's go. Consider this your official permission to be imperfect. The internet don't need another guru. The internet don't need another Hermos or Mr. whatever his face is, Beast, Jimmy. They just need you, real folks. Messy, unpolished, figuring it out as we go. Exactly, someone out here needs to hear what you talk about right now. Skip the script, press the button, be a real human. 2026 is your year. Go take it. Go and grab it by the coconuts and take it. Now, I'm going to say this real quick. Mahalo for trusting me with your time. Stop watching crazy videos. Just get out there and do something. I do not know who needed to hear this, but if it was you, let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, press the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. And remember, this is your week. Go do something. Don't wait until 2026 hits us. When the la hits the system, it hits so hard that your head can't fit you. Right about now, the algorithm's going to show you another video I think you should watch. Don't watch it. Go make something. Love you.
I need to know everything. Who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche. It's 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats. To turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk.